Hey guys, it's Tiny Logan back with another video for you. Today we're actually going to be taking a look at a new cooler from ThermoLab called the Trinity. Now I'll get this out of the way straight away, but you can't actually buy this. When I'm making the video, this isn't actually out yet. Stock isn't arriving in the UK for at least another month or so, and this is a sort of an early sample that the guys at Quiet PC have sent me. And basically they said in their own testing it's been getting very good temperatures, but obviously they sent it to me to see how it does on my test bench, to fairly compare it to all the other heat sinks. So I'm just going to show you quickly what's in the box, and then obviously we'll start the testing off. But as always, we'll have a quick look at it to start off with, get the manual out the way, take a small cover off, and then you get to the heat sink itself. Now I'm going to unwrap this and show you, but that may look like a 140mm fan because it is bigger than a 120, but it's actually a custom ThermoLab designed 130mm fan on there. Now you can see it's got 4 direct touch heat pipes. Nice shiny base as well. It's quite well machined. It's also, when you run your finger off it, over it, there's not massive steps in between the heat pipes as you can get with some of the others. It's quite a neutral design as well. Simple black top, fitted within many cases. Obviously we've not got it in yet, but it's not that big either, so we'll see how we get on with RAM when we actually get to start to fit it. Now it reminds me, the build, I know this is going to sound daft, but touching it and handling it reminds me of the Coolink Curator. So I don't know whether this is from the same OEM, but the fins are very thick. The build does look a lot like the Curator. I know that might sound daft, but where I get to handle and play with a lot of these, you know, quite often you do just get a feeling for where they've come from. But if not, it does feel, the actual heatsink itself does feel quite solid. I mean, the fins aren't all thin and just cheap feeling. It does feel quite nice. So we'll have a quick look what else is in the box. It's obviously just the mounts and stuff. There's some thermal grease in there. There's if you have a look carefully, there's an adapter cable there, so you can plug it into your CPU header, and you can still, there's a resistor in there, so you can still notch it down a bit. All the fittings. Now I'll say just quickly, if I have a look on the box, because I have seen it somewhere, I know I have. Alright, maybe I haven't. Oh, here we go, I knew I had seen it. It supports 1155, 1156, 1366 and 775, and then the usual AM3, AM2 and AM2 plus AMD sockets, so all the kind of the main sockets that are floating around for the modern CPUs. Right, without further ado guys, I'm going to get this puppy in the rig, and then we'll go through the usual OC3D kind of tests, stress tests and all that kind of malarkey. We'll see how this girl fares. So yeah, there's your first look. Now it's time to move on to the testing. Quick look at the cooler in the system. Just for later reference, you can see the thumb screws there for the mount. You can see they're quite well hidden, and the screws come through from the back, and then you put the thumb screws over the top. I'll talk about that in the conclusion. As you can see by looking at the board, it's clear of all memory. You can have whatever height memory you wanted on there, or at least on this board. I don't think you're going to get many boards with RAM close enough to the socket that that's going to be an issue. So no RAM issues. I wouldn't say the cooler's quiet at 12 volts. But what I'm going to do now quickly is put the camera down and pop the fan speed adjuster in. Right then, with the fan speed adjuster in, it's very quiet. And by very quiet I do mean practically inaudible. And there's no, when it gets going, there's a little bit of noise there, but it's not a massive amount. So with the fan speed adjuster in, it's very quiet. Righty ho. Right then guys, you can see the ambient temperature there is 21.3 degrees. We pop up here, you can see that we're doing the first 4 gigahertz run with the fan on maximum. 1.25 volts, 4 gig. Prime has been running now. I took the results at 30 minutes, it's a little bit over now, but there's our temperatures. Temperature at time of taking the results was 77, 75, 73, 72. That gave us an average temperature of 74.25 degrees. Take away the 21.3 degrees ambient, and that left us with a 52.95 degrees delta at 4 gigahertz with maximum fans. I'm gonna stop this now, let it idle for half an hour. Then I'm going to stick the fan speed reducer in and rerun these tests again. Right then guys, that's the ambient, 21.5. We're still at 4 gigahertz, 1.25 volts, but now we've got the fan speed on low setting with the supplied fan speed reducer kind of resistor cable that came in the pack. Again, we've been running Prime for 30 minutes, and there's the temperatures. When I took my temperatures, I had 79, 77, 75, 74, giving me a 76.25 degree average. Taking away the 21.5 degrees ambient, that gave us a 54.25 degree delta temperature with the single fan on low. So not a bad result there really. Right, now it's time to crank it up to 4.2 volts, 4.2 volts, flipping heck, 4.2 gigahertz, and get that CPU fan wound back up to maximum again. Hey guys, there's the ambient. You can see that we're running 4.2 at 1.35 volts. We've not been testing Prime that long, but we've already got a couple of cores in the 90s. So I'm gonna stop this now basically, because the little cooler just can't cope. Those temperatures are going to carry on running because we've only been running this test for about 10 minutes. 5, 12, yeah, about 10 minutes. So I'm gonna stop the test quickly. I just wanted to show you before I did exit Prime. It's just, yeah, at the end of the day it's just reached the limits of the cooler and it's struggling to dissipate the heat. Right then guys, end of the video. It's time for me to wrap up. Now I need to explain something to you very quickly. I got this early from Quiet PC. They have no stock yet. They are waiting to get stock in, but they sent it to me to see what I thought of it. And it wasn't even necessarily meant to have been a video review. They just wanted a bit of feedback. But I thought I'd spin it around, have a good look, chuck it onto YouTube, and then we can all kind of discuss it as well. Because they've not got stock yet, we've also not, we don't know what's going on about prices. So what I've done is I've looked on their website, and there's another ThermoLab cooler on there, which technically should be coming in as a top of the range cooler, so above this one. And that one's 45 quid. So what I'm kind of hoping is that this cooler is going to be from 35 to 40 tops. And that's what I'm going to base my opinions on. 40, it'll be, it'll be alright. If it comes in at £35, then it will be an absolute cracker. I really do hope, if this does come in at 35 quid, I quite literally will be telling so many of you to buy this cooler. It doesn't even bear mentioning, so it really does come down to Quiet PC and how well they, this gets priced. Right, let's have a bit of a chin wag. We'll start off with the mount. The mount is a bit annoying, but it's because it's quite difficult. You put the back plate in with the screws up through, and then you've got thumb screws. And it can be a little bit difficult. What I would say is if you've got your motherboard out, you'll find it easy, it'll be fine. But when you're trying to get in and around a case, you'll probably find it quite difficult. If you're going to do it in and around your case, either make sure that you've got someone with you to help kind of balance the cooler, because it will start moving all over the place. And if you can keep it level, you'll find it a lot easier, which is what I did. Or make sure that you put some time aside and you've got the right mindset that you're not going to be trying to rush this. Once it's on there though, it's great, and like I said, if you have a look around the socket, there's so much room around it. This cooler really does look so many other heatsinks out there look enormous. I'm very, very surprised by how compact it is, even with that fan on there. So you're going to have no RAM problems, or pretty much no RAM problems, unless your RAM literally is sat right up against your CPU. You should be fine. As you can see with the UD3 that I've got here, the first RAM stick is an inch away. If you're using all 6 RAM slots, you'd still have a good kind of 5 or 6 millimetre from the fan itself. The fan does go down right down round, below where the RAM would sit as well, and the fan is sitting quite low on the heatsink, but because, like I said, on this one, where it's quite far away, it doesn't really matter. Now, it's quite a neutral design as well. You've got that black top, you've got a black fan. It's going to match a lot of systems, and as I said about the fins, it is they do feel quite thick. It does feel quite sturdy. The only thing that really lets it down is the mount, but the thing with mounts is if you end up having an amazing mount, it's going to put the price up. So we'll try and kind of balance it out. Now, if I was to compare this to the Prelimatech Super Mega, now bearing in mind that's a £60 heatsink without fans, and when we tested the Mega, we had 2 Sigmatech fans on 12 volts. It was quite noisy as well. This heatsink is only really about 3 degrees off of it at 4 GHz, which I was absolutely gobsmacked by. It really does. At 4 GHz, it performs really well. Pushing past 4 GHz and 1.25 volts, then going up to 1.35 volts or 4.2, you could literally see that we'd gone over the limits of the heatsink. So, now one of the things I always stress is what you need to be listening to is the volts. If you can't get your 930 stable at 1.25 volts, then it doesn't matter about the frequency, 4 GHz, it's the volts. If you need 1.35 volts for 4 GHz, then you need to be listening to the 4.2 GHz results. So you always need to kind of hear the volts. So if you've got a 1366 and you need more than 1.25 volts for 4 GHz, then this really isn't going to be a cooler that's going to get you to 4, and you're going to need to spend more money really. But if you've got 1366 and you're looking for a basic clock with less volts, maybe even stock, there are a lot of people out there that still run stock, or you've got 1155 or 1156 AMD, anything like that, this will be an absolute corker for you. I really like this, but it's all penned on that price. If Quiet PC really can deliver this, and I really do hope they can, say for argument's sake this appears on their website at $34.99, it will be an absolute bargain. And I mean an absolute bargain to the point that I will be recommending this left, right and centre, because the temperatures are so good for the money if it did come in at that price. If it kind of got up to 40 quid, it'd still be good, but I would be kind of saying there was a couple of 3 other coolers maybe that you should be looking at as well. But if it goes over that £40 mark, I know it sounds kind of harsh, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. So this is one of the, a bit of a pain in the bum with it being an early video, that £5 can make an immense amount of difference. I honestly do think though, for $34.99, if someone was to be buying a basic sandy system, 2500K for argument's sake, a UD4, this on the top, absolutely cracking. You'd probably get a sandy system sat on this at 4.5 plus and still be kind of hitting around the 70 degrees mark, and it'd probably be fine. So although I can't test every heatsink on every socket, I can kind of give you a rough kind of guesstimate about what's going on, and this probably would be really well suited to a sandy bridge chip. But like I said, that's all penned on that price. Got to keep hanging that there, because it really does depend on how well priced it does come in. But if it was $34.99, with the results that I've had today, the fact that it's so small doesn't really hinder around the CPU socket, I would probably kind of say silver because of the mount. But if I was to ignore the mount and just go on the performance, I'd actually probably give it gold for 35 quid. And the actual the kind of noise performance as well, because it was really, you know, quite quiet compared to a lot of the other heat sinks. So there's a lot of kind of little, if it was this, without that, all that kind of stuff. But I'm just trying to give you a broad range of information so that you can make your own mind up. But if it did come in at a decent price, then I would recommend this for quite a lot of people, really. I really do. It's the fact that it's not that loud either, and it's one of the things that today, when I get a heatsink come in, like the Cooler Master V6 GT or the Thermaltape 3.0, when they work relatively well, but you've got to have these fans on them absolutely cranked up, blowing a complete ruddy tornado through your PC. Do you know what I mean? I don't want my PC to sound like a Hoover. I don't care how loud you can turn your headphones up, I don't care how loud your stereo is, I don't care whether your PC is in the next room. It still shouldn't be that loud in this day and age, and if you need turbo fans, then really, to be quite honest with you, you need to redesign your heatsink. This is cool, quiet, and gives us some decent temps. So yeah, I've actually been pleasantly surprised. And to the point I've been pleasantly surprised, I would actually like to look at another one of their coolers now, and I may go and chase that up to see if I can make that happen. So yes, I'm sorry for all the clauses and the if it was like this and if we ignore that and all that kind of stuff, but it is a very good cooler if you look at the performance. It's kind of let down by the mount, and we don't really know the price yet, but if the price comes in well, it will be an absolute cracker, and I would personally start recommending this to people, maybe even using it in systems and future reviews as well. So there's quite a high accolade there when you bear it, you know, when you really think that, you know, think about that. So we'll just have to see how we get on. You may even see this in an upcoming video or something. You never really know. I am that impressed with it, performance wise, and the fact that it is quiet when it is still delivering those temperatures, and it's quite small as well. Anyway, I really do know that I'm going round and round in circles now, but I do apologise because I have recorded this ending quite a few times now, and I just end up kind of rambling because I'm trying to cover everything. But pretty much I think that I've covered all the bases. It might just be a bit jumbled up, so you may kind of have to, you know, go back and pick out the bits that you want and put them in the right order. But do you know what I mean? It's a Sunday, I shouldn't really be working, but I always do. Drop in my remote. So yes, this is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you. I am not going to award this as yet, but I've given you enough information that you can work out really what happens when you come to watch this video, whether it really deserves a silver or a gold for you. But but the fact that I'm even thinking silver or gold for a single tower, single fan, small cooler kind of really does say a lot, especially in my mind anyway. So yeah, I've melted, so I'm just going to go. This is Tiny Tom Logan with another video for you, out.